advantage of that.
A point of distinction that I might make between, I guess, Australian Counter-Strike and that which we've seen so far in American Counter-Strike through our limited experience with CounterPit so far. Obviously, we've had a ball, but only had the opportunity to cast a few matches so far, is that in terms of moving on to second maps, in the Australian season, we actually saw in the season, which consisted of 15 BO2s, the team that won the first map went on to win 14 of those BO2s. It was very one-sided. There were lots of 2-0 score lines, and that's something that we've seen consistently throughout Australian Counter-Strike, where teams sometimes struggle to bounce back from losses. I mean, given that each team has their choice of maps, there should really be no reason in my eyes why you'd see so many 2-0s over the course of a season when teams are pretty evenly matched in our scene. On the American side of things, however, I mean, just to cast our minds back, Pete, to when we had the opportunity to cast Winterfox versus Splyce, this same team, not too long ago. We saw Splyce get blown out of the water on the first map. It was Mirage against Winterfox, but then dominated Winterfox, I think 16-4 on Cache, and turned the table around. So I think they've shown that ability to reset themselves mentally and to come into this second map refreshed and ready to go and not let that first map score bother them so much as it would an Australian team.
Yeah, I guess with the NA scene, we haven't exactly casted so much that we pretend to be experts.
No, definitely not.
But in saying that, it's more or less that you can recognize patterns and how teams play different maps relatively quickly. You're not necessarily familiar with every player and their favorite little, get out of jail free cards, I like to call them, where they have their pet plays and little individual smokes and flashes, things like that. Whilst we're not familiar with all this stuff in the NA scene, we've seen enough now and watched enough of other games to know that these teams pretty much seem to rely heavily on their aimers. So pretty much all the strategy we've seen in NA across all the teams, not specific to one or the other, they heavily revolve around their aimers. And I think that that's definitely a strength of the NA scene, but historically has also been their biggest weakness. So when they've gone up against those top international players, aside from, and we're not talking about, I guess, the top tier teams like C9 and Liquid and CLG, those teams are sort of good enough in those regards. But with this middle tier of American CS, like the best of the rest situation, they're definitely aim reliant. And I think that lends itself to more 1-1 scores than possibly in Australia, where we see, I guess, a little bit more strategy involved down the line, which lends itself more to, if you've won the game, it generally means you've out-strategized the other team, which means that you're probably going to do it on the second map. And this isn't to say that one's better than the other, like, oh, Australian CS is better because we're tactically advanced. Tactics mean nothing if you can't hit heads. So it's not comparing one or the other. I think it's just a stylistic difference. And certainly within matchups, it lends itself to different scorelines, coming out over time.
That's right, and what it means from a spectator point of view as well is that as we move on to this second map, essentially anything could happen. We could see Splyce explode, we could see Professor Chaos, like you're talking about, Jason R, those powerful riflemen in the team really just lift their game. Maybe they start hitting those shots that you speak of. They can bring those duels and that hyper-aggression to Team Enemy and really get on winning ways. But an interesting change, Pete, which I might throw to you to bring to your attention as well in between map 1 and 2, is that Team Splyce have actually just brought their coach into the server. Of course, Garrett, GRT, an ex-Counter-Strike 1.6 Canadian player, made his name in that scene and now is the coach of Team Splyce. He's joined the server and we'll have some opportunity to at least witness the action firsthand, perhaps provide some sort of interaction and feedback in real time to the players. I mean, from your experience, obviously you are an ex-player for Team Chiefs, the team that are currently going over to participate in the IM Taipei Asia Minor, which starts on January 29th. So one of the best teams in Australia, now representing their country. What are your experiences having a coach in-game with you? What benefit will that add to Splyce here?
I think that having an outsider perspective won't really change a whole lot of what they do.
Okay, thanks, Pete.
Within rounds. Let me finish. Ease up a little. I don't think it'll help them so much round to round in terms of like what they do exactly, but as in, should we hit A, should we hit B, should we hit mid? Like, that stuff generally is left up to the in-game leader. But what the coach is able to do is make sure that the caller is aware of what pace is working. Like, if a slower strategy is working, they might say, I don't really care what you do, but it should be slow because it's working. Or, you're having much more success when you're rushing. So just little bits of information like that about the pace will come through. And that, which we saw was basically the key to whoever won the round on Mirage. I guess that's a huge benefit if they can pick up on those sort of little things. But I think if a coach, it's different if you're the coach and everyone knows you're calling the strats. I think that if you're like an IGL/coach, it's a little bit different. But when you're purely a coach and you do have an IGL, like giving too much input can be a bad thing.
Yeah, I think for these guys, more so than the in-game leading sort of things, I think it's the experience and the cool, calm, collected nature of his player that I think he really comes into his own. I mean, he played previously in teams such as Evil Geniuses, Blight Gaming, Area 51, and actually attended multiple international offline events during his playing career. And I think when he joined the team, I think he joined forces with them when they were playing under 3 sub at the time. So that's a few months ago now. I think the team released a statement saying, look, they're really looking forward to working with him. His experience, his expertise will allow them to reach that next level. So I think they're really, for an up-and-coming sort of team with a lot of young players, they were really looking to leverage off that experience that he has. And I think he's been a great fit for the team. So we've seen them go from strength to strength, obviously going from 3 sub to Dogmen to Splyce and starting to make some headway in some of these matches. So I'm looking forward to see if he can bring out the best in these young players.
And Davey's stuck in a 2 versus 1 here. He's everyone in the server is on 1 hit, so it'll be up to David to try and isolate. He does isolate. No idea what the 2 enemy players were doing there. I don't know if that's a throw or whatever, but that was in an unwinnable. I had no idea what just happened there. Surely that knife meant more to one team than the other, starting on CT side. Davey. I have no idea what just happened. One player from both teams seemed to stop and just allow themselves to get knifed. So,
as you do.
As you do. I don't know if there was some sort of gentleman's agreement or if someone lagged and they felt bad. I'm not sure, but that was a very weird knife round because obviously you'd want to start on the CT side of things, which it looks as though enemy GG will do. And of course that opens up Kusta to start on that CT side with the AWP. And that's very dangerous. Train is with Inferno. Generally speaking, one of the most one-sided maps in CS at the moment. You can do some stuff as T-side, so it's not impossible, but it really does have to be quite polished in terms of set strategy. But of course, you can always take the option of throwing as many smokes as you can at mid and turning into a lottery. That's
right. I like the use of the word polish there. I mean, we've seen a lot of teams, perhaps in our experience casting, who spend a lot of time practicing. I mean, fine-tuning those smokes from outside T warehouse over the roof there to block off all the individual lanes. I mean, there's a lot of trick smokes that you can do from inside the white halls there through the windows above Pop Dog. Even inside now with the addition, obviously I say addition, this is in reference to the old format of the map and the old 1.6 style of the map, the additions of the windows inside brown halls, which allow a T executing team to throw those smokes through and block off the lanes quite deeply with great precision. So for a team that's practiced and putting a lot of time, there's a lot more variation, I think, and creativity that you can bring to the match. But whether these 2 teams are going to rely on that or more so just a fast-paced, aggressive style, which is what we definitely saw worked best for them on the previous map.
Yeah, I really want to see Jason R and Professor Chaos go to work this map for Splyce. If Splyce are any shot of winning against Enemy G starting on CT side here, those 2 guys have to really open the map up for the Splyce guys as we move into the pistol round, and we can see that the Splyce guys are pretty intent on taking the B halls side of things. They're just going to be making their way up the B halls and through the stairs. But great shot there by Uber, taking down one of the named players, Professor Chaos. But the low ramp rush will come in here. Chocolate picking up one, which of course is Kusta. The Molotov there, pretty useful. Lucky picking up that instant headshot as well onto A, but now he will get pushed out of position. But pick up a falling, jumping headshot, which is a crazy piece of aim there. And Jason R, aka Junior Nasty, left in a 5 versus 1, doesn't pick up a kill. And a great start to the game for Enemy.
I mean, that's about as clean as you can hope for, but some of those frags were incredible. But I might just say, we spoke of aggression, that's exactly what we saw. But this time from the CTs, we saw that double push down Ivy. They caught off Professor Chaos. It looked as though perhaps he was setting up for a little bit of a fake in the sense that whilst his 4 teammates were going inside, he was still hanging around team mid there, perhaps trying to make a bit of distraction later on towards the A bomb site whilst his team crept inside. But as soon as he dropped, his team felt the pressure to commit to that inside bomb site at site B, just because they lost that information and weren't sure what the CTs were doing.
Yeah, but it's going to be a B rush straight away, and it's all going to be on the low ramp play here for the enemy, which is going to be Relics, but he only gets 1, and he will go down straight away, and so will the bomb. So great start to the round here for Splyce. They've already got what they wanted, which is a bomb plant situation, and of course on Train, once you have that bomb down, it's a very difficult bomb site to defend the bomb because there are so few places to hide and take control of after the plant. And as we can see here, Enemy not having too many problems retaking on this one and closing this out, but A1 there, Abe getting a pretty lucky Glock kill.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm quite surprised, particularly on the second round, an obvious anti-eco, to see enemy just playing one member on the B bomb side at the start of the round. Poor old Relics was left to his own devices there. I mean, that's more common on gun rounds when you'd expect perhaps Splyce or the Terrorist to be playing a slower style to allow more time for that rotation. But on the second round, where a rush B is quite often a reality, he was left on his own.
Yeah, I also thought he played it horribly too. If you're going to have that rifle, play much further back in the bomb side, so if you do go down, you don't drop that rifle. But he was playing aggressive, and he was holding a pretty bad angle, so not necessarily the best play there from Relics in terms of decisions. But what will be a great decision is that Gren there from Lucky, picking up Arya. Going to go three-man push coming inside. A picks up the first, but great trade there from Uber. Able to nullify that entry kill, so nothing really going on.
The key thing, though, I think the man went down. A would have seen all three, surely. He should have communicated that to his team. They should now be executing onto A. They're moving too slow here, Pete. They've only just made their move. Jason R, of course, leading out to the bomb site. Does hit the frag now. That's a good job there. They're now in a 4-on-3 situation, but too slow to react. I hope it doesn't hurt them.
Yeah, Arya does get a good position out Vines here, and he will take down mainline, and it's a 3 versus 2 situation here. So Uber does get the tag on the first player from Splyce, but it's a long way to go. As Uber picks up one, it's going to be all on him to try and do the dance around the bomb train and pick one up. It's JR, Nasty, and Arya in a 2 versus 1 here, the bomb down. So Uber taking his time, just going around that bomb train, trying to find one before he tries to find the second, but he will spot out one, and Arya moves around that smoke and takes him down. So great piece of aggression there from Splyce.
Yeah, just to elaborate on what I was saying, as we saw those 3 CTs push the B bomb site, which I actually loved, by the way, especially on the first gun round, trying to mix things up a bit. They were grouped so closely together that whilst there was a 1-for-1 exchange, the dying member of Splyce A would have actually seen all 3, and that should have been in the indication to quickly capitalise and push onto the outside bomb site, which would surely have been not defended as strongly as it might otherwise have been. But great work by Splyce, still closing out the round, and enemy forced to eco now. You can see they have pistols in hand, and all 5 members at the B bomb site.
Yeah, Splyce in no real rush to do anything. You can see exactly how far they're spread up and spread out, just waiting for that enemy push to come in, and Relics is going to once again be the only one here defending the outside bomb site. He does get a bink and a second bink, so a large amount of damage. The first bink coming through that box there, so not so much damage, but now it'll be on Abe just defending that ladder, and it should be pretty open and shut here from here on in for Splyce.
Yeah, you can see them coming down the ladder, but having said that, Lucky's put us some great pistol shots this match. Again, rips the head off Abe in brutal fashion there, and whilst the bomb will go down, and it will be another round in the bag for Splyce here, enemy, I mean, you've got to be quite content with the way in which some of these frags are coming out at the moment. They're brutal shots.
And the real question is, will anyone on the CT side be able to buy an AWP next round? I think the answer is no. And Kuster might force one himself. He's got 3-7 at the moment. That money bonus might click over for him and just get him there, but it will have to be without resource or armor. So a risky round coming up here for enemy, and I wonder if they'll actually choose to purchase.
That's right. Of course, having lost 2 rounds in a row, they will be getting 1.9k losers bonus next round, so it will afford him the opportunity to buy it. He'd have to go perhaps without armor or light armor and sacrifice without having no utility grenades to support him, but with a player such as Struster, surely you'd like to think that an AWP in hand would be surely enough to get the job done against, I guess, a team that has been showing a few struggles tonight, but at the moment, Splyce certainly have erased any memory of that. We spoke about their ability to bounce back and tool on the scoreline, particularly T-side train. You can see that they have bought an AWP for themselves, though. So Professor Chaos, they're juggling it around at the moment, but it does look as though it will settle in his hands, and he will be matching up against Kuster, as we suggested, who has invested in that AWP.
Yeah, Kuster picking up just small armor and a flash, so he actually got a lot more out of that than I previously thought. So a good result there for enemy, managing to get a decent economy going, but it'll be all on him to try and defend this outside bomb site. Professor Chaos puts his AWP to work and catches him out of position. So hopefully here for Splyce, they're able to act pretty quickly on this kill, but as it turns out, they're pretty content with trying to sell this fake at the moment, I think. Junior Nasty there, just patrolling that mid-con area and trying to get a kill. But you can see the bomb just being really hesitant at the moment as Relics is unable to connect that AWP shot. And will get taken down by Arya, and Professor Chaos also picks up mainline. So a round going the way of Splyce here, and Junior Nasty, as Jason R, as I like to call him, Junior Nasty from the previous cast. It's a 5 versus 2, and enemy should just look to hold on to their guns from here on in.
Yeah, certainly. It'll be a tough job for them. I'm just thinking you see both of them position CT spawn, but I love the way Professor Chaos there was well established, get that early drop onto Kusta. I remember doing some analysis and research just recently for Team Renegades in preparation for an international comp they were attending. We were looking and counter-strating a certain team, and we were looking at the frequency at which teams played on that open side of Ivy from a CT perspective where we saw Kusta. And certainly it was something insane, like 95% of the rounds teams were choosing to play on that side of Ivy as opposed to the wall side, so to speak. Hopefully that's descriptive enough as we see both members of enemy going down. But I think the key I'm making here is that I think Splyce, Professor Chaos in particular, was switched onto that fact. You can see he was well positioned with his eyes on the open side of Ivy. So when Kusta stepped around, quite casually, mind you, just to have a quick shoulder peek, he did get taken down very, very easily.
Yeah, and a good start once again to the game for Uber. He's really putting up some numbers for Enemy as he topped last map on Mirage for the win for Enemy, but now he's putting in good work once again, 7 for 2. Kusta not having the impact we quite thought he would, 1 for 3 at the moment. He's managed to get that AWP, but he didn't do anything with it. Of course, Splyce GG pretty comfortable here, settling into this anti-eco and just biding their time. Absolutely devastating grenade coming out. Unfortunately, the Molotov won't quite reach Relics behind that crate, but devastating grenade. I thought it was going to be a one-off grenade kill, but Aria taking care of business there, taking down a couple of lines, and now slowly but surely, the round will go to Splyce once again.
I've actually got no idea why Relics held that position when he actually ran through the top round, and he actually jumped to get behind that box in clear vision of the Splyce members who were at the top of Whitehorse who saw him go there, yet he persisted in standing there, not just after they threw the HE grenade, and the Molotov, and the flashes, and eventually went down in that same position without achieving anything that round. So, curious, but, I mean, it was an eco round nonetheless.
Yeah, we've got another crashed player in the game, so that's one of the Splyce GG members. Just
Aria, I think.
Aria, once again, dropping out of the server. So, nothing lost there, though, for Splyce, as they were well in control of the round before Aria lost connection, and he should come back in with all the money he had previously, and he does, so we shouldn't have to do anything here.
What I'm liking at the moment from Splyce, they see themselves up 4-2. They've won the last 4 rounds in a row. I like the fact that they are pressuring all the different angles of that A-bomb side. I mean, it's quite rare, and I say rare especially in our Australian scene, to be sending and committing so many members to Ivy each round as a terror side. They've been quite persistent on sending at least 2 members down there, putting a lot of pressure. Jason R's been pressurising Team Main. Again, he's going out first, as you can see, preparing for this smoke execute. So it's creating a lot of angles and making sure that enemy are really on their game at the moment. They're not quite up to the task.
Yeah, and the smokes and flashes rain down from Splyce. This is what I talked about, making that outside bomb site into just basically a lottery of who sees who first. And Relics is going to play nicely on the side of this smoke, and Mainline will pick up a kill there. So this is going the way of enemy GG. Kusta picking up a frag quickly there onto the AWPer of Splyce, Professor Chaos, and now Relics playing that smoke really nicely. The angle they're working out for him, but Davey and Aria pick up 1-2 combo pretty quickly, and now the bomb will go down just as quickly as Aria will as well. Davey now in a 2 versus 1, but a very winnable 2 versus 1. If he can find the first one, he does. Davey beautifully playing the angles here, and he does know where Twitch is. Oh, Lucky, I should say, as Lucky does manage to find Davey and convert that round for enemy GG.
Yeah, you can see him just stalling for time at the moment. What he's doing is he's actually trying to recognise if he's got enough time to go and save that AWP that Kusta did have, and I think dropped it over towards Ivy, so he'll be sprinting over there that way. But what did I say just before that round, Pete? I think I'd said that Splyce's success had come off the fact that they'd been pressurising all the different avenues that are open to them to take that bomb site. This round, they actually committed every member out Team Main or the small ladder. No one went towards Ivy. So it just meant that Kusta could just focus his eyes down the lanes with that AWP in hand, and it was easy work for the man there. They need to be making sure that they're keeping him on his toes at Ivy.
Well, the inside bomb site's going to have to be on its toes this time. As no, they've decided to come down SL and come out midcon. So Junior Nasty, aka Jason R, doing good work here. Pushing for the smoke. Can he find one? Main line on the right angle there, picking up Jason R, and now the spray comes in from Davey. But this is all going to be a little bit too much here for Splyce GG to cope with, as all members of enemy GG have found their way outside, but now it's a 2 versus 1 spectacularly in the favor of Splyce GG. So a great job of actually trading the kills as enemy GG fully committed to that outside bomb site. And now Professor Chaos is in a position where he can plant the bomb inside, and they have great post-plant position with his teammate Aria on full HP and vision of that bomb.
That's right, Uber now making his way down the low. Does get spotted out, so he's already down 42 beans of health. Professor Chaos, of course, taking a little bit of damage himself, but has the AWP. Of course, the bomb planted in a great spot here for Team Splyce. So the time that is now getting wasted, so to speak, as he makes his way into the site is going to come back to haunt him later on, you'd have to feel. He does make his way down towards that small ladder train, shows his head. Aria spots that out and will communicate that to Professor Chaos, and surely this will be Operation Safe Weaponry for Uber, and that it is. But to be honest, I don't know how Splyce turned that around. I mean, they were in the outside bomb site. They lost, I think, the first 2 frags. That was a 3-on-5 situation, and great job by Aria getting a double for the round. Abe and Professor Chaos also picking out 1 apiece, but that should have been a round going enemy's way, Pete.
Yeah, and I can't emphasize enough, this is a strategy that inferior teams will often use on train, which is after you get out that initial choke point on the outside bomb site, you throw smokes everywhere. And then it is literally a battle of who sees who first on the edge of what smoke. So while it appears you can have complete control, one player will be able to flank around the entire team defending and shoot a couple of guys in the side there. And that job was given to Aria. Picks up a double outside, turns that round on its head. And really nice work there from Splyce. Not over-committing to outside, but getting enough members there that they could really sell that was the bomb site that they were interested in. And as the trades came out, they obviously went back inside and won the round pretty convincingly. And now for enemy, it's all on Uber and his AK to try and make something happen.
That's right. His position outside of the A bomb site, he was actually temporarily up Shaguar, of course, the ladder room I'm referring to, the old 1.6 reference there. But he has now repositioned himself towards the Ivy, so he's got vision of a few different angles at the moment. Aria just making his presence known and not just doing that, actually getting a lot of damage there. Tagged onto Kuster, and it's been enough for, I think, Splyce to pull the trigger and actually charge down that lane themselves. They will get the drop there and somehow get away with that gun. I think that one moment there, Professor Chaos actually had vision down towards Ivy, but didn't actually shoot, or at least didn't connect. So great job by enemy there. They've actually now got 2 AKs, Pete, and this is starting to get interesting for a team like Splyce who have an Mac 10 in hand and a member down.
Yeah, this is going to be a difficult round for Splyce to win from here because I think that enemy are pretty clued on to the fact they're not coming inside, but Davey picking up a Mac 10 kill there, and it's going to be all on Uber to try and maximize his AK from this bomb train area. He's swindling behind, and the Molotov comes out, so he's not going to have much of an angle, but he finds enough to get a double. A triple there from Uber. Brilliant control there from his AK, blasting 3 opponents in the head in a very short space of time, and now Jason R's in a 3 versus 1, 2 versus 1 situation, and he will run through mid-con before being taken down by Lucky 1G, and brilliant work there from Uber.
Brilliant work there by Uber. That's actually hilarious in the sense that poor old Jason are in the 1-on-2. I think his presence was known because as he was swindling through the smoke trying to go through mid-con, that would have been communicated. I'm not sure which CT it was, but actually spammed the smoke from outside near the bomb train onto his teammate who was waiting in mid-con. So there was a bit of TKing happening, but in the end, as Jason are emerged from the smoke, he was taken down. But great work there by Uber. Those 3 sharp kills, proving that saving that AK the previous round certainly did a great job for his team, setting them up well there.
Yeah, and that's why I've referred to it as a lottery, because when you play the lottery, sometimes you win, but most of the time you can lose as well. So that's definitely the ugly side of the coin there for the tactic employed by Splyce, making it difficult for them to see enemies, but also the other way around as Kusa finally gets that AWP going, taking down Professor Chaos. A great start to the round for them, but not before Aria replies onto mainline. So 1 HP on Kuster as well, so almost a 3 versus 4. But again, Abe also for Cypher on 11 HP, so a very even round panning out here. And it's going to be one engagement here that decides who wins the round. And Uber's doing his best to stay alive and do what he did last round. He hasn't managed to spot JR nasty on that train. But Aria will pick up chocolate on just that 1 HP. And Uber's going to throw some spray down that line and try and pick one up, but it's going to be Aria picking up a double once again for Splyce and opening up the bomb site. It's a triple.
Well, not just that, he actually got the first 2 frags as well. It's actually the ace for Aria. Massive job by the man. I mean, consider that his positioning at the start of the round was actually at the Ivy with Professor Chaos, who actually subsequently went down. Aria picked up his AWP, put it to great use, but I love, crucially, the key frag for me there was the fact that he actually smoked off the right side of Ivy, crept out and got the drop there onto Kuster, who had 1 HP, and that just really allowed him to jump out at a couple of CTs who had their backs turned. Unfortunately, off the back of that ace, he has subsequently dropped out from the server, which is no good for he and his team. But I think because the round had just started and no damage or really utility grenades had been expired or used by either team, I think they will be able to restart the round from that situation. It was 6-4 Splyce leading the way, but Aria, massive job from him. The first time he's really exploded this match, but what a fantastic time for that.
Yeah, I really like what Splyce have got going here on T side. they're actually taking a large amount of risk, and they're happy to do it because you saw after Uber got that triple, they weren't then afraid of going back to and opening themselves up to where Uber knew he'd be around that area once again, and they weren't afraid of taking on that battle once they'd lost it. So a reward for consistency there from the team approach from Splyce.
And the key thing to point out is, I might just say, great work by the admins there and being able to restore this server so quickly. I mean, that's incredible.
Futuristic. Yeah, I remember the days when if a player disconnected, you had to wait for them to reconnect. They didn't get the money, or you had to restart the whole server and all that sort of stuff.
Honestly, honestly, I had $16,000.
Yep.
I promise. But I might just, we pointed out on the first map there, Pete, that Chocolate, of course, who is Kusta, was getting frags without necessarily making that impact. He was just ticking away. Look at him at the scoreboard at the moment. He's got 3 frags, yet he's struggling to have that same impact. On CT side, Train. That's a surprise to me. You can see the enemy forced to eco here, but what does Kusta need to do to get himself in the game at the moment?
Well, he needs to get himself an AWP and really be defensive. He's talked about himself in interviews how aggressive that he likes to play with that CT AWP as all the exchanges come in on this eco round, and pretty standard stuff there for Splyce, so 7 for the score. But he himself has talked about how much he loves being aggressive with that AWP, and at the moment he's just not hitting those shots. So if he just pulls himself back a little and plays on the defensive side of those smokes, and if he's still alive when those smokes fade, that's when he can really have maximum impact. But at the moment, he's either the first one to die or he's dying too early into the round, and he can't maximize that AWP.
I think you're on point. You can see he does have it in hand this round. Some of his teammates going a little bit lighter on the investment side of things not by choice, but by, I guess, what has been imposed on them off the shaky starts of this first half. You can see, though, an opening exchange here is Splyce again trying to establish their intent on this A bomb site. But at the moment, that's better from Kusta there as he does get 2 frags, and combined with the work of his other teammates, that will be around going enemy's way. Very, very fast, though. Didn't feel as though that round went on for very long before all of a sudden Splyce were falling over where they stood.
Yep, and once again, they've tried to bully the enemy guys out of that outside bomb site, enemy equal to the task that occasion, but they've already got 7 rounds on the board, Splyce, so anything from them from here on in is an absolute bonus, because they've already done the work and got themselves these 7 rounds. Of course, enemy every round from here on in is a must-win for them. They can't afford to lose any more rounds on this CT side of Train.
That was an interesting flash.
Uber... I don't know what that flash was, just onto his teammates as Kusta picking up an AWP frag to start the round. So that's a lot better from him, and should put his team in good stead. But once again, the fearless approach to this outside bomb site has come in from the T side, and you can see them trying to take the outside gun battles as Professor Chaos takes down the Danger Man Uber. So this might be one of those rounds that's reopened up, and the plant will go down. 2 AWPs on Kusta and Relics, with 3 AKs on Davey, Jason R, and Professor Chaos.
Yeah, so we're in an after plan position now. 40 seconds ticking away at the moment. You can see enemy 3-on-3 sort of situation. 2 with orbs in hand, though. It's meant that some of them, such as Relics, have opted to actually keep their pistol in hand, given the close quarters battle in which they find themselves. At the moment, though, Splyce getting the job done. They've got the first and they spot out the third, and they're jumping. P250 kill there seals the deal for Team Splyce. Great job holding off that bomb site. 8-5 the scoreline, but I might just point out from a tactical side there, we actually saw Davey get that opening frag onto the B bomb site very early, or I think it was Davey, getting the drop there onto that sole member. And normally you'd see a team commit to that B bomb site off the back of getting that easy opening frag, but I think the fact that Splyce was so separated meant that they had to then fall back and reconsolidate and commit to that A site. But perhaps in hindsight, if they had more members closer by, they would have swarmed onto that B site.
Yeah, and very passive approach taken by enemy this round, that they've got those pistols, not really investing in armor or any sort of grenades as far as I can see. So they're going on the approach that if they all just get 1 kill, they will win the round. And that's definitely the case. If everyone on your team gets a Deagle 1-bullet headshot, CS is a very, very easy game to play tactically. But as it stands, Splyce GG with all the resources, the AKs and that AWP, and Davey putting that to good use, taking down Lucky 1G. And now the bomb should go down in B, the plant nice and early, and it is. So pretty standard round here from Splyce, finding that open bomb site and just manipulating the different choke points and getting those kills coming out. And big last round here coming up for enemy GG, in which, Nick, they will still be pretty low on resources and gunpowder.
They will, and not just that, I think not motivation, but momentum and confidence at the moment off the back of what should have been a stronger side. They had their choice of sides, remember, having won the knife round, but they find themselves now 5-9 down. I want to give a massive shout out though. I mean, look at the squad. Aria put in so much work at the moment, the in-game leader and captain of his team. Started playing top-level CSGO in about 2013, we understand, and has been around the scene a lot longer than his teammates, but really standing up at the moment. We gave a lot of credit to Splyce's ability to bounce back from what we've seen in previous matches that we've casted, where they'd gone one map down. They're showing that right now, doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, Aria putting in a lot of work. Professor Chaos is doing a lot of good things as well on entry fragging-wise, but JR Nasty, and I call him JR Nasty not because I'm a huge fanboy of him. I actually don't know anything about him. He was tagged up last time as Junior Nasty, so I've got it drilled into my mind that that's what he's going to be, because I think it's a sick name for a CS player. So Junior Nasty making his way towards Vines, but really for me it's a waiting game now, as you can see that Kusta only has a scout on him. We've got one pistol round, but Uber's in actually in a great position with this pistol, so he's managed to get himself into a position where any gun in the game will be the same roughly from this distance, and if he gets a headshot he'll grab that kill. So decent positions here, but once again you can see they're not giving up on this A bomb side, and Splyce any minute now should be bursting out onto this and just overrunning the enemy opposition.
Yeah, really strange choice of tactics for me to see 3 members busting out Ivy and 2 coming out SL. You'd normally expect some sort of T presence, and at the moment hasn't quite paid off because they found themselves down 2 men to 1. But in the meantime, Davey putting a lot of work. We've seen some great frags from him so far this match, and again picks up a triple there. Nice headshot through the smoke, and with only one surviving member, it's all to do for Lucky. He has shot the first, spots out the second as well, knows that the last is at the electrical box as well. So Davey's got 3, needs to get 4 to finish the job for his team. Crucially though, something in his advantage is the fact that the bomb has been planted, and Lucky doesn't have a kit in hand, so the 10-second man fuse will need to come out. And Davey doing a great job of buying time. You can see he's repositioned himself in the CT cutout at the moment. Lucky has absolutely no idea. Just great use of sound there for Davey to really just manipulate his way around those trains to great effect. And in the end, picks up a wonderful 4K as Aria drops out from the server for what is, I think, the 3rd or 4th time this match.
Yep. Yeah, once again, great play there by Davey, picking up a 4K. So pretty much solo winning that round for his team in Splyce. But in saying that, that last kill was definitely a mental kill as opposed to a really fast headshot. After the last kill came in, he beautifully maneuvered his way around the aisle and manipulated the train yard of the map to get himself the best possible advantage and shot the last player in the side.
Can we just give, though, I think just pause and just recognise the effort that Splyce have just put in. I mean, 10-5 on train, ordinarily that would be a massive achievement, but to do so in a BO2 circumstance with so much on the line, obviously every team desperate to win to give themselves the best chance at going to the LAN finals in March, but off the back of what was really a quite underwhelming performance of Mirage, to wipe that clear of your mind and to come into this match forced to start out on the T side of train and produce such a dominating performance off the back of, I think, losing the pistol round, if I'm correct. Yes, I am. So great job by Splyce getting 10 rounds. They look like a reinvigorated team, and so impressed by what we saw in that first half.
Yeah, and enemy is going to favour this inside bomb site by the looks of things. So they're going to make their way slowly towards this. At this point, they're going to actually just bust it out. So a fast inside rush, coming in. And Professor Chaos is going to be the guy to try and stop it. Does he pick up 1? Davey picks up 1. Davey picks up 2 before he's not even traded. So Kusta with the kill there before Davey and Professor Chaos goes down. But have they bought themselves enough time? Abe with the trade there onto Lucky 1G. The bomb goes down, and now it's a 3 versus 2. A must-win round here for enemy. And now this is where a star like Kusta needs to stand up. He doesn't. Junior Nasty takes him down, and it's all left on one member, which is mainline, and he'll go down as well. So brilliant start to the half there by Splyce, and wow, just a dominating performance there by a set of Julies at the lower round.
I'm glad you gave him credit for his choice of weaponry there. I was going to say he got 2 kills, but more importantly
ammo
for me, yes, just spamming away with the Julies, proving that sometimes 2 pistols can be better than 1. But in the end, I think that enemy made the right choice to commit to the side after they were shown. But just some great shooting and some great positioning there from Splyce was just able to shut them down, particularly with the long range. Once those initial duels had gone down, the USP is certainly favouring the Glock over the distance that is the inside B-bomb side. And as is, we'll see enemy though. I think forcing the issue here, you can see that they do have tech armor and a few utility grenades, so certainly I mean, recognising they're in a tough position here, Pete, wanting to turn things around.
Yeah, love this buy from Davey. He's got all the way close, and he's got an auto shotgun, so this could be make or break here for Davey. It will be break. Uber will manage to get his way through the smoke, but not before one of the CT members is on the fast rotate behind, but Mainline will pick him up as well, so Splyce here looking like they're in a little bit of trouble as Chocolate picks up A1 as well, so a 5 versus 2 now as JR Nasty has a lot going. A lot put on his shoulders, as does Professor Chaos. These two need to combine for what will be 4 kills, but Uber spamming his Tech 9 through the smoke and picking up Professor Chaos. Oh my goodness, I mean, whilst it could have ended up so well for Davey that round, pushing lower ramp with an automatic shotgun and trying to swindle in the smoke is possibly one of the most movie plays I've ever seen. That is some Schwarzenegger stuff right there.
And whilst we're giving him a lot of credit, Pete, for the bravado in which he did so, I think in hindsight, if we reflect on what actually happened, the fact that enemy took control of that B bomb site without actually having to take a bullet at all. I mean, they blinded Davey, took him down, and just strolled down the low ramp and the high ramps respectively. I mean, it was probably the easiest bomb site taken which they could hope for, but I mean, mad props to Davey for going for the movie play. Certainly, we would have loved to see that from a spectator point of view pan out, as we'd hoped it would. But in the end, Enemy do a great job here of resetting the economy of Splyce, and they needed to. I mean, they were down and out having lost that pistol round, and Splyce on the favourable side of CT were well established there to run away with things. But now they're going to have to grind out this half, and we're in for a good match, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be on Splyce to regain that control after they had the pistol round on CT side train. You thought to yourself, here's going to be a pretty cruisy finish, but the questionable buys and plays, as I see in the Twitch chat, just NACS just being streamed down the Twitch chat because it literally is so unexplainable that there's literally nothing I could say about a auto shotgun buy after winning pistol.
Solo
pushing into a smoke that you use through yourself, as I trip over those words, but. Crazy plays there. Davey picks up a pretty fast headshot before it'll get traded out, but he picks up a double, actually. So Davey doing great work there, and now it's a 3 versus 2 on the other side of things, and Splyce managing to turn this one in their favor, but Uber in a great position here with this AK to make plays, and he picks up the first one.
That's right. Let's not forget the fact that Splyce actually don't have any kits in hand. Now, the bomb has been planted. It means that they're going to have to somehow find a way to get that 10-second defuse in. As well, one of their players who is no longer surviving with us, RIP, Professor Chaos, only had a pistol in hand. So it's all to do here for A1, who of course is Abe. And he's just choosing just to keep that deagle out at the moment because the long range, P90, not going to be so effective. You can see Uber here, well positioned. Should the need arise, which it won't, as we can see Abe backing off. He could have thrown that Molotov towards the bomb just to buy that extra time. But in any case, great eco there. And Kusta will finish the job. So Splyce doing a lot of damage and putting the pressure on Enemy. But in the end, Enemy do pull through. And we're now moving towards what should be the first full gun round here.
And as we move into the first full gun round, as you said, it's a pretty crazy situation. Kusta, in the second half of this game, is averaging 152 damage per round. So he's completely changed his performance over the course of the last few rounds, and he's set to put himself on the map. And this could spell trouble for Splyce here, as they like to take this defensive approach. The AWP on Professor Chaos, and they're going to do their best to defend, but Kusta picking up momentum, so can he get that AWP going and save the day for Enemy fans everywhere who are holding their breath in eager anticipation of their massive skin win?
Potentially. I mean, it's quite interesting to see the start of this round. It looks very reminiscent of what Splyce did. You can see 2 members of Team Enemy at Ivy, trying to put pressure at the moment. They're just boosting over the smoke, trying to catch off one of the CTs off guard, whilst 2 of their teammates are making their way toward the B bomb site. But crucially for me, the biggest telltale factor, the bomb's still left behind in Team Main. So nothing fast will be happening. Even if they do get a frag or 2, they don't have to regroup, get that bomb, and then commit to a site. At the moment, given the bomb placement, surely you'd think it would be the A bomb site. But Kusta does get a frag there, so that's certainly going to, I think, solidify that decision in the minds of the in-game leader of the form of Mainline, that perhaps A is the best bomb site to choose at this point. With 45 seconds left on the clock, though, they've got to be smart about it, Pete, because they're running out of time here.
Yeah, and we saw this a lot I didn't see it a lot on Mirage. We saw it early on Mirage, where they were just not willing to go quickly in on a bomb site, yet this was the most effective way for them to hit it, as finally Lucky 1G picks up the frag on Aria, and now his teammate Kusta will slowly make his way down Ivy with that AWP and force Professor Chaos to sort of gamble. He does get one through the smoke, so ooh, he gets the double. Professor Chaos there going to work, and all of a sudden the lottery might be swinging in the favor of Splyce as Davey gets one. It's now a 2 versus 1, but Uber just on 4 points of health. It's all on Relics to do something special here. As you can see, he's pretty aggressive on the flank here. Professor Chaos with it all to do, and he picks up that M4. Can he find the right angle? I have a feeling Relics has played this well enough to ensure victory. He does. Well played there by Relics, and I mean, Professor Chaos made something out of nothing there, but fortunately for Enemy, they were able to close out the round.
That's right. We spoke a lot, didn't we, in the first half about the tendency for teams on CT side to play on the open side of Ivy, as opposed to the wall side, the closed side, as I was referred to it. Well, where did those 2 opening frags come from to open up that round for Enemy? They came from that open side of Ivy there, as both Lucky and Kusta were able to get a frag apiece and really paved the way for that entrance onto the bomb site there. But Professor Chaos, hats off to him. They were 2 great orb shots there, but in the end, it was all too much to do for him. You can see Splyce on an eco here and charging inside with a few members here.
Yeah, and I don't think it will end up too well for Splyce, actually, as Oob is literally sitting in the kitchen making a cup of tea and taking a break.
What is that accent?
A cup of tea? A cup of tea?
What is that accent?
I mean,
that's horrible, mate.
It's horrible British.
Horrible.
British.
Horrible is the key word there.
Horrible. Well, I mean, anything I can do sometimes to disguise my Aussie twang, you have to take that. you have to take that as well. But he was just chilling in the kitchen there. Oh, all right, making some Kool-Aid then. I don't have an American accent, but he's making some Kool-Aid in the kitchen.
Okay. Well, as it is, Enemy, great job at the moment. I mean, they brought back this scoreline. Let's not forget, Splyce got 10 rounds on the T side, and you wouldn't know it at the moment if you looked at the scoreline. I mean, 11-9, soon to become 11-10 once this last surviving member of Abe gets taken down. They know his position. He does have an AK in hand and some body armor, though, so he's not going to be an easy target by any stretch of the imagination, but you can definitely see the intensity of enemies. Relics moves up those T-stairs. They want to take him down. They want to make him reinvest next round. Lucky there. I think just make a little bit of noise, trying to take his eyes and attention away from the oncoming Relics, who is on the flank.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for him to really do anything. That is A1 on that ladder. So he gets taken down pretty quickly. And Splyce, in a world of pain here, they will be able to buy, and they will get that AWP up, or they should get at least one AWP up, as I think they're discussing now who's going to buy it, and it's going to be Professor Chaos once again picking it up. But interestingly enough, we can see that over the last few rounds, it's been Kusta for his team, and Uber putting in the work. So those 2 guys continue to push on in their second half, but we see a pretty defensive strategy employed by both teams here. Nothing too pushy, yeah, just feeling each other out and seeing where they want to hit, and Kusta does spot one. He will unscope, unfortunately, there, so the timing not great for the scoping there of Kusta. He should have been able to connect one there, but it doesn't matter because Uber's found Aria early on in the round, and usually the first pick has become the biggest one here.
Yeah, I hate that play there by Team Splyce. I mean, they flashed him in, Uber looking for a second frag, but the angle which Aria was running in pre-firing was almost expecting one of the terrorists to be below the ladder. Of course, it would be much more common, you would think, in that sort of mid-round scenario for one of the terrorists to be on his left as he ran in, but didn't check that angle at all and was punished as a result. So a little bit too over-aggressive from Splyce there, trying to turn around the momentum in their favour. Obviously, they've been struggling in recent rounds, but it will now be Enemy trying to sell a bit of an A fake as they move towards this B bomb site with the bomb peak.
Yeah, and they'll make their way down lower ramp, and Professor Chaos is in a great position with that orb on top of the train, but he doesn't manage to connect with anything. But Davey does on top of that bomb train. He will be traded out by Kusta, and he's got a big role here with this AWP. He spots one out, hits that headshot, so great display of individual skill there by Kusta, picking up the kills, moving into the B bomb site. It is a 4 versus 1, but it's Professor Chaos, and he does have the bomb down, but what he doesn't see is that flame grenade to his left runs straight in, and the dude's cooked. He goes down.
I just want to make a point as well. The players in the server are laughing to themselves at the moment as well. The positioning of Davey there inside that B bomb site, standing on top of the bomb train, exposed to every single possible avenue in which the teams can take him to enter that site. In the end, he did get the drop on one player there who wasn't expecting him to be standing in the middle of nowhere. But not necessarily the spot I'd recommend to players at home to take. It's not going to pay off for you too often if you're standing in the middle of nowhere, where you can be seen from absolutely every angle.
Yeah, no angles too wide for the Splyce player to take there on top of the train. But what will happen? Kusta picking up another double here, and he spots the third one, so this should be a triple for him, and it is. So once again, he's pushing on in that in this second half flurry he's managed to put on.
I'm really worried here, though, from a Splyce perspective. I mean, they had such a fantastic start to this map, but really, they will call a pause now, just as I'm saying that. So good timing on the tactical pause, but really these last few rounds have just felt as though they've been too easy for enemy. You can see if you look at the scoreboard, they've actually strung together 7 rounds in a row, but in all of those 7 rounds, I'm just tabbing back over them, they've had nearly 3 to 4 members surviving in each, so the actual rounds themselves have been easy, and it certainly felt that way as a spectator, and enemy all of a sudden have turned this massive deficit into a situation in which they've got complete momentum, complete financial control as well. I mean, Relics has $14,000. The AWPer in the form of Kusta, the star player for the team, has $10,000. He can afford to AWP another 2 or so rounds if he was to die and continually lose it for the next few rounds. Like, they have everything going in their favor at the moment, and this is looking really worrying for Team Splyce.
Yeah, and what I do like to see from up-and-coming teams like Enemy, because I obviously picked Splyce to maybe come away with this map, but it was going to be an upset if they did. But this is the map that I thought that they could do well on, and they certainly did have a strong T side where Professor Chaos put in a lot of work, but right now they're falling across the wayside because Enemy are starting to click into gear. But what you love to see when you have a star player like Akusta on your team is the supporting cast really coming through when they don't click. And what I mean by that is on Mirage, we didn't, even though we got a lot of kills, we didn't see a lot of high impact frags from him. It was Uber coming up the A ramp, and it was his teammate MNL doing a lot of good work at B to close that game out. And through the first half of this match even, he didn't really have an impact. Right now, it's all about him and his ability in the second half of this match. And he's done a really good job of switching on and carrying them home in when they got into a difficult spot.
Well, that's right. Let's not forget, at one point in this match, if you were to read the scoreboard, Chocolate, of course, Tuesday, his scoreline read 3-3-9. So 3 frags, 3 assists, 9 deaths. He's now on 19, 5, and 6. So he's actually managed to get, if I do the maths in my head, 16 frags for only 7 deaths. Since that point in the match. So he's definitely come alive, and you can see on the scoreboard, Enemy not 12-11, taking the lead certainly reflects that as well. I think the play for me, Pete, which really started to get me worried for Splyce, up until last round, I wasn't too concerned. I thought that they were still definitely in the match. They still had a lot of money to play with and whatnot. But that decision by Aria, and I'm not sure who his teammate was who actually threw that pot flash into SL, but that decision to push in aggressively, pre-firing, expecting someone to be under ladder, just really leaves me very confused and bemused at that decision, because it's not a percentage play. It's quite strange. It just feels as though they were just trying to force the issue and make something happen when there was really no need to. I actually loved the position that he had very close to SL there, watching T-Con. He had the advantage of a smoke in SL to cover him from that angle. There was no need to push, but that desperation play in the end just cost his team that round.
And those sort of players usually come out of, I guess, fear of getting picked off if you stay somewhere too long. So you start to get a little bit edgy. And for people who are, out there who haven't played professionally or played at a high level at all, it doesn't mean you haven't been to majors or whatever, but, you Div 1, you Div 2. When you get in a close match and you're holding a position as CT, keeping your nerve and not actually peeking from that spot once you know you're in a good spot is a very underrated skill. Like someone that comes to mind would be like Snacks for Virtus Pro. His ability to not only pull the trigger but not pull the trigger in key moments is really telling. So there was a case there where Splyce had got themselves into a great position and then just sort of, I guess, got a little bit concerned. But they're not going to be concerned about this round as they pick up 2 AWPs, one on Aria and one on Professor Chaos, and Enemy are not going to wait for anything to happen. They're going to rush straight out mid and get to the smokes and the flashes coming through here. Of course, Kusta on the back of that train just biting out a couple of the grenades as JR's going to have to do something here, and he doesn't. Gets taken down pretty much straight away, and Kusta has the vision on top of that train. He gets the first one, so great pick there on Professor Chaos. Davey chiming in with a few kills, and before it's all said and done, Lucky gets A1 at the back of that bomb train. So now a 4 versus 2, and really a tough round here for Splyce as they're probably already saving.
Yeah, definitely saving. I mean, really worrying for Team Splyce is the fact that really Kusta can stroll out mid, stand on top of the blue train, of course, in that 6 aisle line, as we used to refer to in Counter-Strike 1.6. These days, I think it's absolutely named aisle number 1, so they've gone and completely reversed that on us. But my point being, could stand on that blue train just outside of team A and really just pick off down that Vines aisle and caught one member off guard there with no pressure being applied. There wasn't anyone up in CT heaven. There wasn't anyone in CT con that was making him think twice. He was just casually standing there, double zooming down and opened up the round.
Yeah, and I think what you'll see a lot of the really good CT sides do on train is in that one aisle that you were talking about, there's the front blue train and the back green train. Getting a player on CT in between those trains and listening to what's actually coming out of T-Con and being able to throw counter flashes from that spot between those trains is so invaluable to your CT hold, because it means you can't get overrun immediately out of that spot because the flashes and the smokes are there. So I guess Splyce needs to look at maybe changing their CT side setups a little bit to cater for that fast A rush out the middle, but it's going to be at the moment another A rush out the middle once again, and MNL opening up, but Aria finds that AWP kill, and they're going to try and make their way into A, but MNL mainline is going to find his way through the bomb site and just pick up another one, and it's going to be on Aria to try and make a kill, but he misses and gets the bomb planter.
Oh, that was too close to comfort as he missed that first shot. In the end, didn't make it count, but as Kusta there gets a nice Tech 9 double kill to finish the round, it just looks too easy for enemy, doesn't it? I mean, that round, again, exact same replica of what we saw in the previous instance where they just charged out of team aim and really had their way. I think Splyce, they tried to mix it up this round. They were playing a little bit closer, but still, they weren't in between that sandwich gap that we're talking about in between the green train and the blue train in that number 1 aisle. They were still quite back behind the stop sign and whatnot, and in the end, it just meant that enemy could just really, without fear, charge out team aim and take the jewels that they wanted to, and they're really in a great position here. 14-11. You can see they have slowed the pace down a little bit this round, trying to perhaps play on the nerves of Splyce, who know things are starting to get very, very close, almost too close for comfort, and oh, what a nice shot there by Kusta. They're standing on the little ledge, the wooden ledge, catching Jason R off guard, picks up a second as well, so now the man's on fire. This is the form we wanted to see from him. From 3-9 on the scoreboard to 25-16, he is having his way at the moment.
Yeah, as I was about to say, he's absolutely ripping them to pieces in that outside bomb site, but unfortunately for Splyce, they're allowing him to do it. They're putting no pressure on that mid-con consistency as he gets taken down, but will burn Aria to death. And they're just letting Kusta just sit in mid and just tear them to pieces. They're not Molotoving mid. They're not, at least we saw enemy double grenading mid consistently in their CT side every single round. There was a player coming from, 2 players coming from mid-con or 1 from ones that would double grenade that T-con, taking away that fast push. But at the moment, you can see Kusta going completely off tap because after 6 rounds, he was on 3 kills. So you can see just how much damage he's been doing over the course of the
in
last...
this second half peak on the T side, he's been averaging 160 DPR. That's incredible against a tier 1 opposition of this class, as we think Relic's actually turned that flash grenade into his teammate. But he's been on fire, and his team, I think it's given his teammates confidence as they're now making their shots as well. Yeah,
and Professor Chaos did have the line spotted there, and he will pick up a kill. And I'm worried here for Kusta, actually, because Professor Chaos knows where he is, and he's just trying to line him up. But he's being nice and patient here. So Kusta not overcommitting to anything particular. He does see one run past, but Relix will be the man to open it up for his team. And Jason R, rather, picks up one, but will be flanked and taken down. Chocolate not able to convert there, so a round should go the way for Splyce here. And finally, signs of life for the Splyce guys.
That's right, they're making their way towards the B halls, but Davey, in the end, picks up that frag with the shotgun approach. Quite close, would have heard the footsteps, obviously, of Skylar or Relix making his way towards that side. And all left up to do for Uber here, with only 4 HP, his objective at this point is to not win the round. That's seemingly impossible, but just to do as much damage as he could to the economy of Splyce. But in the end, does get taken down, and 3 match points still to save here for Splyce, Pete.
Yeah, and what's interesting for Splyce is they've managed to win the pistol round, and then that round then, and in between 10 rounds in a row went to enemies. So they're just going to feel their way out Vines here.
We do apologise if anyone out there whose GoTV crashed. We'll try and get that sorted ASAP at the moment to keep you in the loop, though, Pete. It's a very slow approach to the round, so not missing too much just yet.
Yeah, and I guess Kusta will jump up on the Vines side of things, on top of the little box in the middle of Vines, looking for that left alley pick, and he won't find anything, but MNL will make his way out Vines and get taken down by Jason R, so that's a good start to the round. And there's Chocolate, though. He's picked up the first one. A nice quick shot there onto Professor Chaos, his opposition Orpa. And Relix picking up a kill there onto A1, so now it's a 3 versus 2. But key information here, Kusta's still up and there's an AWP in front of him. So if he can manage to take out Jason R, who's sitting in the cutout in front of him, he's on 13 HP. It's going to turn into a 2 versus 2 pretty quickly. And this is a kill that Chocolate will desperately need to hit as he moves around the side trying to find it. It will be Relix that finds Jason R. And now a 2 versus 2 for the match here for enemy. And the plant goes down, and it will be Chocolate picking up the first one. So brilliant there from Kusta. 2 shots coming out from his AK, picking up 2 headshots. Brilliant close around there. And the enemy take this one 16-12.
That's right. I think 16-12 was the scoreline on Mirage, if I'm not mistaken as well. So 16-12, 16-12. Kusta finishing with 29 frags there. But more importantly for me, you just saw the change in fortunes for the team as soon as he started to make some shots. All of a sudden, they were just seemingly winning rounds at ease. They were choosing which slot they were going to. They were going fast. They were going slow. it didn't matter. The end result was the same. And poor old Splyce, they looked outclassed, to be honest. I think they were struggling for ideas as they got towards the back end of that CT half where we saw some desperation pushes. We saw passive play. We saw close up in your face play. Nothing was working for them. And when Kusa's making shots like we saw tonight, you can understand why.
Yeah, Kusta putting up an insane performance there. So Enemy winning 2-0 in this matchup. So a great start to the CounterPit season for them. Of course, now we look at their roster. They have a great chance of actually coming away with this opportunity to go to the CounterPit finals in Croatia. So great start to the season from them. And we look forward to potentially casting some games, or at least good luck to them for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, reiterate everything that you said. Great showing tonight by these two teams. Such a privilege to be able to cast it here from Australia. Thank you for bearing with us, audience, and putting up with our Australian accents. I'm just sorry we didn't get to watch Inferno so you could hear the DDD calls coming out. But just to reiterate, this is now the start of the American CounterPit season. So moving forward, games will be played every day from here on out for about the next week and a half to 2 weeks. So stay tuned, whoever your casters might be. Plenty of great action coming your way from these 5 teams that we spoke about earlier. And I've been one of your hosts tonight, PK. You can follow me on Twitter at PKNoodle. Of course, I have been joined by the mercurial Australian talent in the form of PTG. You can find him on Twitter at IamPTG. But also a massive shout out and thank you to our producer and host of the night as well, Deep Jimpact, who or Jim Nesso. You can follow him on Twitter at Deep Jimpact. He would have been joining us, but unfortunately with work commitments, he's been resigned to just looking at the scoreboard and keeping the spectator and production side going for us. So
don't tell my boss.
It's been a fantastic night. Really appreciative of all the players and the admins who have made this possible. But until next time, that might be us tuning out here from Australia, Pete.
Yes, thank you for everyone tuning in, and we'll be sure to deliver you some more CounterPit action the minute these games are scheduled. And I believe they've fixed up all the issues with CounterPit as well. There was obviously a few issues early on with teams coming in and out, but they've reset the league with teams that are committed to playing, so there shouldn't be many more issues with games and scheduling of games moving forward, guys. So please stay tuned for more NACS action, and that's over and out from us today.
Good night.
E-Gaming Bets. We accept bets on computer games online since 2011. Referral system for regular users and the first deposit bonus. Gaming devices store and the best choice of payment systems. Dota 2 and Hearthstone, Counter-Strike and StarCraft, World of Tanks and League of Legends. EGB.com. You know for sure who's going to win.
G2A.com, the best video game store ever! Fast as lightning, solid as a rock, cheap as duck! What's more, you can sell on it because it's also a marketplace. Remember G2A.com, the best video game store ever!